Welcome back to Naval Action, and we're going to do a bit of a thing to do with port tactics. So in a letter to the King a couple of weeks back, I got a lot of feedback about port tactics, and then one of the British captains, the infamous Lord Vicious, said, well, why don't we walk through a battle, one where he commanded, and we'll have a little look at how it unfolds and what commands I'm giving. So this is Castries from the 23rd of January. We've chosen this one over the one where we lost because we'll maybe do that another day when it's more in the past and the tears have stopped flowing. And we see here that the Eastern Alliance are coming in from Circle B. They've got the wind, they've got beautiful wind. And the Brits are having to sail out of their port somewhat into the wind to try and get to a good position in the middle circle. A couple of Brits are dispatched off to Circle C, and the dirty Frenchies send their mortar brig to the south. Now, before we get into the video proper, just a bit of a thank you to Augustus, one of the Brit captains. His channel is Ragnar Gaming. I'll put a link to it in the video. So a thanks to him for letting us use the video, and a thanks to Lord Vicious for coming along and sharing his insights as a battle commander. So thanks for coming, Vicious. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you for having me.
No worries. I think this was your idea, so thank you for giving me the idea. So really the battle's just starting now, and if you look at our fleet, it's predominantly a victory-based fleet. We've got a few people in dirty Santies and Oceans, but it's predominantly a victory-based fleet. So what's the preference for victories?
We believe that in this new battle environment, the victories adapt better, especially to the bad wind condition. Is always a Russian roulette, you know. You never know what wind you're going to receive.
And I guess obviously they're strong hull victories.
Yeah, of course.
I think most of them we prefer stiffness. Most guys prefer the stiffness. I believe it helps with leaks, but it also gives you those extra couple of points.
No, I
Of
think the majority prefer the build strength.
build strength. Okay, build strength.
Yeah.
Are we just waiting here?
And I guess the weakness of the victories is the crew size compared to the other ships, and to some extent, if you let them get close enough, the raw broadside of the Ocean and the Santee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the weakness of the victories. If you receive a stern, it's much less forgiving than an ocean or a Santi. So you should fight, but not in a real brawl per se.
So this one's looking a bit bleak for us. They've got good wind to come sweeping across the left circle, which is B, and engage us in a full-on biffo in A. At this point, I think they've sent their mortar brig to the south. And you've dispatched a couple of captains to go and eat up Circle C, so we've at least got one circle locked up for a while. If you skip the video on to about 8 minutes 26, we're using a bit of a video sharing thing, so this should be interesting. And around 8:26, perfect. If you pause it there, LV. So they're coming in, they're forming two lines. That's not too unusual for a first-rate fleet to divvy themselves up into lines. If you look to the south, you can see their mortar brig heading off. We've got a couple of stragglers who entered the port at the wrong point outside of the circle. So what's your, as the port commander now, the wind's a bit ugly. If we turn into them, we're sailing straight into the wind. What's the basic plan?
Yeah, that was our problem in this particular battle. There was a lot of screeners of the enemy outside, and we could not undock and go contesting the circle from when they join. Usually in these port battles you want to spawn as much as near to the enemy, because if you need to fight them, you want to fight them as much as possible far away from the other circle. You know, blocking them into a fight that not allow them to get into your other circle, because if you start losing and they are already fighting in a circle, it's game over. So we are in a very dire situation here. They have a very good wind, they have already a circle, and they are rushing our center circle. Nobody can contest also their mortar brig because it's against wind.
So they're going to get free
So
points essentially for the mortar brig, and
yeah,
we're not going to have a fort protecting us. Now, I've seen often the Danes, they like to overlap. They would come around the top of the enemy fleet and wear a reasonably bad wind. But in this particular case, you more or less just decide to sit on the top of the circle. So did you have a plan, or were you just trying to think of one and it took a while? What was the sort of approach at that point?
but usually I notice that many commanders start with forming fleets and lines, and then they need to adapt to the situation. So forming a line when you still don't know what your enemy is doing is just a waste of time. So I sit there, I started looking what they were doing, and meanwhile I was brainstorming how I can manage that two lines into ours.
All
And
right,
then I have think they have a lot of slow ship, Santis, oceans. Half of their fleet is
it's
very
heavy.
not,
Yeah, it's a heavy
yeah, it's not
fleet.
very able to go against wind.
So skip on just a few minutes to say 1730 because it takes a while in these things for the fleets to come together, and we'll see they've become they're encroaching on us. So at 1730 here, have I gone too far? No, 1730 here. Um, their lines have come, and you've essentially turned us now, so we're not actually into the wind as badly as we were before. So if I was them now, I'm very excited because I'm looking at the back of our fleet and thinking I can gobble up those back three ships as the Brits move away. So is this a plan, or have we left the tail of the fleet exposed here?
That's exactly the product of that brainstorming, in the sense that they formed a line. The best way for blocking that line is to chain. You can see by the guy targeted
Yeah,
that is
86 already,
86%. Yeah.
and that's yeah.
In another couple 1 minute it will be like 70%. The fact is, if you chain the first guys in the line, they get slowed down while the guys behind are full speed, and that's why you see them leaving the lines, because they can't stay anymore one behind the other, otherwise they're going to ram each other.
And I think a point that we see already here, and this is a theme all the way through the battle, if you count the number of British ships who've got shots on the enemy fleet here, even if it's just chain and through the sails, although their blob looks very scary, there is only two British ships probably taking damage here, but there's probably 10 British ships or Allied ships opening up on their line as it comes in, yeah?
Yeah, that's the point. Bring as much as broadside as you can while the enemy can't. When you charge like that, if you draw a line, let's say under the first three enemy ships,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the only people that can shoot from their fleet. While
Now,
we have a good 70-80% people shooting.
Now, I remember the desperate hold up in the Bahamas, up on the north side of the map here. Against this fleet, many times we would actually try and engage in a brawl at this point, and although we managed to cling on to that port by the skin of our teeth, it was under the old system. So really it was just the timer that often saved us, or we crept over the line with a bit of BR. In this one, we very much decide not to get stuck into the brawl. If you move on to 2107, we can see just exactly how we're trying to avoid allowing all their guns to get involved. So at 2107, now I've watched this video a number of times, and at this you're more animated at this point. You're basically asking a lot of the guys to. You can leave this playing actually while it goes, but you're asking a lot of the guys to basically shepherd their forward ships into the jaws of our fleet. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a technique that I use very often. I let the tip of the enemy spear entering our formation. I ask our fleet to slow down to battle speed, and then sandwich the people. It's the technique of the British call it doubling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get someone inside, and then you close all the escape routes so the people can push him from the left and the right, pretty much controlling the enemy ship movement while you keep pounding at him. In this particular moment, they have only 5-6 ships that can shoot us, while already they have people in danger in the middle of our formation.
And of course, all those ships of theirs, the bulk of their vanguard off to the right-hand side there, that really can't do any damage at all. It's essentially having to shoot through its own sails if it wants to hit us. And
Exactly.
at this point, you're calling for people literally to ram their ships into our line, turn them, stop them getting out, etc. And we'll see here Augustus is doing exactly that. He's making sure that their ships can't get out of the jaws, essentially.
Yeah, this is an old battle, but the British have a very different style. Before I started to leading the British fleet, it was more similar to the Russians, go there and brawl. So it took time to adapt the people to this method. But this was, one of the castries that finally we did a very good result. But after that, we started making other castries where we did 10 kill, 3 loss, 11 kill, 1 loss, because the people started to adapting to that system of finding that isolated guy, doubling at him, and isolating him, keep blocking his escape routes.
And of course, you're seeing here now with Augustus himself, the ships, as they're essentially, a lot of them are running at half and battle speed. You'll see Augustus here's at battle, while of course the enemy fleet coming in with its sails all biffed up is probably running at a higher speed. But our guys are all sitting there with double loaded as well, which is, as you can see from a couple of the ships he's focusing on, it absolutely wrecks. If you take 3 broadsides at double, you're spending a lot of time hiding, I think, from that point onwards.
Yeah, this is a thing I do very often now, that the people get more skilled and learn. You need also to learn the commander. It's a dual process. You learn from the people and the people learn from you. To load one side with a certain ammunition and one with another.
Now, we're lucky here that we've got Augustus's video, because he's a captain who does something that I think all captains should do. And one of the reasons we chose his video to do as the first one we'd look at is about every 60 seconds he's pressing on the map. So he's constantly aware. I mean, if Augustus gets himself isolated, it's vandalism to some extent.
That's something that the people should learn. His way to managing this port battle is an example of how you should do. As a fleet commander, I do that even more often. Pretty much I stay on M, on visual of the map, all the time, beside when I have a loaded broadside. Yeah. Then I shoot my broad and then I return to map. Because fighting this battle as a commander is all about predicting where the ships will be in the next 5 minutes. So you need to understand how your fleet is moving. Let's say in this moment they were started to going 270.
Yeah.
If you see them moving like that, you need to tell to the people that are on the bottom to circle and tackle against wind, otherwise they will be cut off. You need to predict and think ahead this kind of fights, but it's a very good habit for everybody, unless you are willing to stay on the map and see your situation and the enemy situation.
Yeah, I actually try and have a rule that every time I fire a broadside, my next action is pretty much to go to the map, and if I'm at that stage where I'm not firing
and
broadsides,
don't play from the deck like many do.
No.
Tunnel vision, stay in third person view like this.
Isometric.
Click M every time you don't need to volley, because tactical awareness is the most important thing in this port battle.
And I mean, one of the things, I've watched the full vid and I encourage others to do, but one of the things that you see Augustus doing here, he's in the thick of it all the way around. He's not overly shy of taking a few shots. But I'm pretty sure in this one he doesn't get himself involved in a tangle, or he doesn't get himself involved in lots of nasty collisions where he's left himself.
Yeah, here they fake the fire ship, so we kind of freak out in that particular moment. You see one of them in the middle, the one he's going to stern rake. He faked the fire,
and you have to do that,
get
don't you?
boarded and captured.
You have to do that, don't you? He's got a nice stern rake off there. He's taken 100 crew off that ship. But if you do think there's a fire ship coming in, it is probably a genuine reason to panic.
Yeah,
because
but look what he's doing now. He's pressing M, he see his position, he see the enemy position. He's not in danger, even if he's exposing his bad side. The enemy are far. Now I'm calling him for blocking him, and he go to block the enemy ship.
Yeah, so he's in this case here, I've just spoke about him not ramming, but he's actually deliberately closing this ship in, and you'll see now there's a real mess goes on as fundamentally we've decided that we're going to bully this ship pretty much out of the game.
Yeah,
Agent.
this is a perfect. See, he got perfectly scissor blocked.
And that guy will be turned into the wind in a little while. If you jump on now to where are we at now? We're at, in a second, we're at 26. If you jump on now to say 29:35, our first action is really complete, and to some extent, this to me looks like what was probably the most dangerous point. If you just go back a little bit there, mate, and pause it, we've lost the. I've lost the map. Let me just see if I can. Can you bring the map back up?
That is on the right.
There we go. If you pause it there, perfect. This for me, I think, the Brits look at their most vulnerable here. If now the Eastern Alliance are probably a little bit too focused on staying in the circle, but if at this moment they'd made a different decision, they could have potentially cut off either the clump of ships who are very close to the coast, who've just been involved in that boarding action. That's actually Augustus finishing off that boarding action. The ship you see there highlighted is is next to the captured ship. But we've got 7 ships to the south, and the majority of our ships are quite isolated here in the north. So what's the call at this point? Because this, for me, we're in a bit of danger here of being separated and spanked if we're not careful. The wind isn't good for them, and their sails are a bit damaged. They don't have a lot of options, but what's your call here?
That's part of the product of us waiting there in that 4 or 5 minutes that I could think ahead when they were charging. The idea was to luring them to circle with us, leaving them in a comfort zone, inside the circle.
Yeah.
Trying to, of course, boarding or isolate someone, as we did. You can see Augustus now have the bot. It's the guy that he pushed and boarded before. And now I was trying to, let's say, gamble of the enemy inability to take faster decision. In their defense, they have Spanish, French, Denmark, Sweden people in their fleet. So usually when I watch a lot of their videos, they have people talking in Spanish, in French, etc. You can even watch that in the last Santo Domingo, even if we lost, but you can see that their ability to regroup and go for a certain order takes much more time than us.
No, it's actually, so this is a very good point. I mean, ideally, you want to be sailing with 25 captains who've sailed with you 2 or 3 times before. Not only do they know the commander, they also, what I call sort of fleet intelligence. They have a higher fleet intelligence. Be it you're mixed, in this particular case, our opponents here have got 4 different nations mixed into the bag. By definition, they're less familiar at sailing with each other, so it does make it harder for a fleet commander of any capability to sort of...
Yeah, they have much more changing of fleet commanders, I think, also, and also I understand why they go for Ocean and Santis, because they need brute force. They can't do refined tactics with that shuffling of people with different language also.
And also,
so they go always with brutal force.
So our hope here is that our manoeuvrability and the fact we've worked on their sails will stop us getting tied up in a broadside to broadside engagement, which I think would result in us getting wrecked.
Yeah, we change from let's focus this guy and damage to okay, everybody load chain, and for this particular moment just chain and slow them down. So we are not trying to engage here in this particular moment.
Okay.
We're just trying to escape from the left, escape from the right, and regroup behind them. And while we are doing this, we are not shooting balls, because it's pointless, the distance not allow any damage. We are just chaining them and slowing them for what we want to obtain 10 minutes from now.
So it's, I'm glad you called it the escape, because my little notes here on the timer, if you jump to 3407, I've actually entitled this section The Escape. So if you go to 3407, you'll see exactly what you've just said unfolding. So he's zoomed out on the map here. He's gone mad to help us with our video thing. But you'll see here essentially that their fleet is trying to tack through the wind. I'm pretty sure at this point they're all pretty much.
tried to charge us, but too little, too late.
And
It took them a lot of time to take a decision and try
and
to cut. And you
and
can see the 7 of our guys
yeah,
managed to slip away.
and most of our ships now are moving north with the wind, essentially. North on the way the map is, they're moving up the map. With reasonable wind, and really we've got 1 or 2 ships in a bit of bother, and the ships on the outside, they need to make good time, but most of their fleet is essentially heading in the opposite direction. But of course, again, put yourself in the mind of the enemy fleet commander. He's looking at 352 points, which is not a bad start, and they've strongly got control of B. We're nowhere near the numbers of B, and A is too far a sail for us. So although we've escaped at this point, they're probably still feeling pretty good about this. And do you recall, I think at this stage, we in that initial pass, we captured 2 ships. Was it something in that order?
Yeah, and we severely damaged another.
And the people who came in at the tip of their vanguard got all those doubles. So the points are looking good for them. But if you like the hull strength of the 2 fleets, the Brits have probably done better off the hull strength and certainly better off the sail. So if we move on now to about 3841, we see us regrouping. 3841. We see us regrouping and almost doing a repeat of what you had them do at the start here. So talk us through. They're coming back at us now. We're certainly not looking pretty formation. You're not going to win line dancing prizes for this. But what's the plan here? Because to the naked eye, apart from the poor guy out here on his own who's going to get cactused because he's well isolated.
That's the point. It's not about the beauty. It's about
the beast.
It's useful. Yeah. We did what we wanted to achieve before. We left from the left. We left from the right. We regrouped behind. Remember that we have almost 2/3 of our fleet as victory.
Yeah.
So we can manage to go, as you see, 90 degree against wind, much better than them. That is 3/4 of the fleet is sandy and oceans. So you can see that the mind of the fleet commander was we need to remain in the circle.
Yeah.
They were in a very tight formation, so they could not circle back by leaving the circle. They wanted to remain in. That pretty much give it to their people not much space to maneuver, and that's why they are coming towards us very divided now.
And it is a bit of a criticism, isn't it, of the circles? I mean, sailing 25 line ships in a circle is a bit of a, who would ever try and do that? And as you say, so what's happened now is they're getting strung out as they've tacked through the wind. They're getting strung out here, and there's 3 ships at the front of their line, but I as a casual observer, they're way too far ahead of most of their cannons, yeah?
Yeah, that's the moment where fleet commander should say to these guys, slow down, wait for the others. Instead, they keep charging. So we got 8 people prepared for this. That was the people which were waiting for this moment. Is 8 ocean, including myself, with at least 3 boarding modules.
Yeah.
So marine sword fighting handbooks. I was even risking the yellow modules in this particular fight.
Now they've
and that's the moment. You see they have 2 people, one going on the left, one on the right. They are entering inside our formation. We are closing them pretty much from every direction.
Yeah.
And that's where we start boarding them.
And I think also at this point, one of our ships was a bit bashed up, and this is where you basically sent them off to go and capture one of the other circles, yeah, which is just a general tactic in port battles. If there's a free circle and there's a ship that's pretty much going to die if it carries on fighting, that's the person to send to go to an uncontested circle, or even chase the mortar brig down, yeah?
Yeah, from our circling around the circle, one of our guys got almost destroyed on one side.
Yeah.
We won because we captured one guy, almost killed 2, so it was a 3-to-1 exchange. So I sent him to the circle. They left. The one from where they charged. They committed all their forces here. So I sent the guy away for not giving points, and you can see he's capturing.
And then there's again. So the other thing, just out of interest, when do you save your broadside, and when do you choose to do a stern rake? Do you? I mean, I see a lot of captains, because stern rakes are so brutal. A lot of people seem to, in my perspective, over stern rake. Do you have a bit of a feel about, what's in your head about when's a good time to do a stern rake, when's a good time to save it?
It's all about the distance. I see a lot of people tend even to stern rake with a lockhead, which is not a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
The best is unlocked 250 meters. That's
Yeah.
the best because the convergence is superior in that sense.
Yeah.
People tend to focus too much on the stern raking, to be honest. Even look here, Augustus is going almost against wind.
He's excited, isn't he? Because he can see an enemy bottom, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And to some
while
extent,
and he's risking, because if Snoopy or someone else go directly for him, he can get boarded.
Yeah. So if we skip on what we're at now, we're at, just give me a second here, we're at 41.28. If we skip on to around 47.10, so you see even now we've only got 2 kills on the board, but if you skip on to 47.10, I think this is where, because we've let a few of these ships in, we sort of get into a bit of a boarding frenzy around now.
Yes, I'm trying to get speed.
Yeah, we got 3 boarding in the same moment. You can see here.
Yeah, so there's, down at the bottom of the map, there's a ship, 2 ships being boarded.
Yeah, that's me and another guy, and the guy in the center is one of them that got boarded. Then you can see Jon Snow boarding another guy on the left top, and then another boarding involvement in the top right of our bottom formation. That's 3 boarding happening right now. They have nobody helping.
That
was the majority of their fleet is going up.
That's what I was about to say. So again, it's this sort of separate and bully approach, which if you're the captain of a ship, if you're not the fleet commander, really your job is not to be that person who's let themselves get separated. So if we look to the south of the map here, you'll see a quick count. There's 10 British ships, and there's 4 Allied ships and 4 Eastern Alliance ships. And these ones that are getting boarded, they're swarmed. I mean, these are like flies around honey. There's no help coming for them that's really going to ease the problems.
Every enemy ship boarded have a double.
Yeah, it has
2 people. Yeah,
it has like an ally. And really at this point now, and I mean, you've mentioned to this before, once you get 3 or 4 ships down, or 2 or 3 ships down, in these circle wars, it's very, very difficult for you to start commanding the battle or controlling the battle, because basically you can't hold a circle, eh?
Pretty much, if you have 2 loss, means that you need to do 3 kills with no loss, just for having the chance to take it back. So it causes a snowball effect, in my opinion, where yes, you are fighting, but to be honest, you should just go away, because there is no way for you to coming back from that situation.
Or rarely, as we've seen, but rarely, yeah. So I think where are we now? 41.20.
See, that's the moment they start losing A.
Yeah.
And they will almost never take it back.
No, so and that's just sheer numbers. We've retired one of our ships to head off on the long journey to take another circle. And at this point now, because their ship's down, we can contest in the circle, and pretty much the points. So if you look now at the points, by the way, we're at there's only 43 minutes to go, and right now the Brits have only got 138 points. So again, if you're the opponent here, you're still thinking you've got a good shot at this. But if you were to click on all the ships, you would see that the damage is unevenly spread. Now, if we jump to 55 minutes and 3 seconds, sorry, 47.10. Sorry, mate, 47.10. We'll see it really begins to turn now as different ships are just getting picked off in individual actions. Essentially, their group is arriving too late to do something, and their individuals are being picked off, yeah?
Yeah, they are very divided. They have very low health points at that point.
Yeah.
To be honest, the fleet command should just call for get out. They have no chance to take a circle. He have a lot of people in danger. He just can do a tactical retreat. Also because the wind, if you look, the wind now is at 180.
Yeah.
So their only escape route is against the land at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah, if they want to get out, because they're somewhat surrounded, and their only way out now is to run to
Look
the
at the
land.
situation. They are pretty much very near to the land. The wind is completely against. They can only run 90 degree. Not even 225, because if you see 225, they're still going land.
Yeah.
So it's game over in the sense they are stuck to a fight. They know they can't win, and he can't even try to retreat. Also because we work on their sails before, so even if they escape 90 degree, we just accompany them.
So the hope now is that, I mean, if you're them, you know you've got to win a
A
brawl.
good fire ship run.
A good
Someone
fire ship.
taking fire and exploding could tip the balance.
Yeah, and if we jump forward a little bit now to 5503. I think we start to see, as you referred to it, the snowball effect really kick in, because their damaged ships now are getting isolated. This is the stage, this is the part of a battle where the commander starts telling everybody to finish off so and so, finish
Yeah,
off so
as you see, we gave up already since 10 minutes all the tactical movement and formation stay together. Since we got the advantage of 5 kills pretty much, because we got 2 kills before, 3 boarding, we have 5 extra ships than them. I just let everybody brawl, stern rake, get for your kills.
And that's very much what's happening now. So, you know, there's ships isolated, there's ships that probably, I mean, the guy on the right there, you know...
Yeah, look at that guy,
he doesn't know.
9 enemies.
Yeah, Jon Snow's in a bit of trouble here by the looks of things. He's going to have to just kite those guys away.
Yeah, in Jon Snow's position, there will be like 5 boarding involved. He get captured already, get counter-captured, and on and on.
So we're almost at the mop-up stage. If we go to 104.49, you'll see now that it really is beginning to get a bit desperate for the attackers.
Yeah, you can see the health point of Guillaume. You can see the health point of the people around, especially on the left where there is that multiple boarding involvement. There's a lot of ships with low health points.
And it's interesting because, again, I mean, I've been in quite a few battles. You know that you've got it won, but if you look at the scores, that you'd still be thinking the Brits, this is not in the bag yet. And I think this is where there's the sort of second lieutenants or the second in command help, because this is where you need people calling out targets and calling out who's near them, yeah?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we kinda at that point I was telling to one guy that have 5 guys around him, you call targets for your group, you know, keep going for... You see Guillaume, I call the target and Augustus instantly
evaporates his port side. Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, even on the left-hand side, you're beginning to see the names of ships pop up in white, which is always heartening when you're a player, because that's basically the message that tells you an enemy ship has gone to the bottom. And to some extent now, their best bet is to try and save as many hulls.
Load chain, run for your best wind option.
Instead
they keep circling around in a situation they call clearly not winning anymore.
And do you think the points trick you into that a little bit sometimes? You have to have bigger eyes than just the points. You look at the points and think, you know what, we're still ahead here.
What do you think?
Yeah, because you see, from the point standpoint, they have almost 500, we have less than them, but you need to analyze their ship situation in terms of health points is inferior, their number is inferior, and they are not gaining any more points.
No, they're only going to get them from
So this situation can only get worse.
They're all downwind of me. And can just go straight into the middle.
I think, what are we at now? We're at 102. Jump to 104.50, 104.49.
If you're already sinking, it's hard to be a fire ship because you have to take survival off.
And I think this is the end of this. Even more boarding. Yeah, okay. So Augustus is going to go into. Did he board 3 ships in this battle, Augustus? He seemed to go on a bit of a
I think he
rampage.
multiple boarded a couple of ships. He boarded Ready, and then he boarded the boats of Ready.
And then he did one at the start as well, didn't he? So he did all right.
Yeah.
He probably walked away with bloody 3 ships out of this. I don't know if they all got sunk. Maybe they did. And again, you look at the map now, and the points haven't moved on a great deal, but there's boarding actions going on. There's people bayoneting the wounded, as they say.
See, we even lost A because we're still circling around, scoring the kills, not focusing on the circle. You know, I look at the time, 26 minutes.
Yeah.
500 points. We have superior number. We can take A when we want.
And that's a good point to know. So if you hold 2 to 1, it takes 41 minutes to get 1,000 points up. So even if it stayed like this and nobody fired another cannon, then they're only just going to cross the line. If you hold all 3, then it's 21 minutes to get your 1,000 points up. So you should always keep in mind how long's left on the clock. If the battle's not going in your favour, this can be the. I've just read your comment on the screen. This can be the. It's very important to know how long is left on the clock and how many points you can accrue. So actually, if it stayed like this,
but in defense of Zru, he was chasing the mortar brig.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's you've got to play to type sometimes. So jump on 10 minutes to 1:14 and 50 seconds, and we really begin to see the mop-up taking place now. So yeah, 1:14.50, and I think this is, if you see here, we're on 336 points, and if you can jump ahead, it's after he's done his boarding action.
1:14.50. Yeah, you see already the shift in the points.
Yeah, are you moving us on? Is it?
Yeah, 1:14.50.
So, yeah, the map comes up. There we go. So now it really is mop-up time. So 505. Now remember, we're not holding the circle, so that basically means 200 points.
There is a thing that we need to think, especially, for example, the cast series that we did before, the one that we lost, where we did 11 kills, 1 loss, is to sometimes let the enemy prolong the fight for your benefit.
Yeah, so you can wreck them.
Exactly. Look the ships they have on the top right. They have almost 3 dead ships. I have no interest to finish this battle now.
Yeah. But if you look, we've gained 200 points in 10 minutes here, and that's basically.
Yeah, and you can see Grudge Monkey killing Cecilia.
Yeah, and that's 5.
They lost 10 ships in the matter of 10 minutes, pretty much. 1 ship at minute.
Yeah. And so, really now, this is the kill zone. This is to some extent as the force that's beginning to win the battle. You can relax a little bit and just start putting shots through ships that are 2 broadsides away from death, and you're trying to maybe cause a bit of attrition on your enemy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the other castles, at a certain point we were scoring so much kills for only 1 loss that I told the guy, let them capture in the whole center circle.
To keep them
because we want, we want to prolong the fight, because we were going to score 16, 17 kills for 1 loss in that battle if we let them conquering. And while they were running for that circle, they started to escape instead of conquering.
Yeah.
So in this particular moment, we don't need to do anything. We don't need points. They're not going to score 600 points in 15 minutes. And by having us only owning 1 circle, we just prolong the fight. You see, Major General Lafayette is 1 volley from dying.
Yeah, and I think, I know I've seen Babet do this with the Russians as well. I've seen him seed a circle to allow a battle prolong. So this is a sort of, it's a bit of a seasoned captain's approach. It's a very beautiful shot, isn't it? As that just catches fire on the way in. And then I think we can pretty much go to the scores on the doors now. That's right, he DCs at this point. If we jump to 129.10, There we go. Perfect. Well done. And so if you remember, oh dear, can you squeeze back a little bit? It's just
21.
slipped off my screen.
It's not
129.
thick.
129.
129.
I thought it was 129.10.
Yeah, okay, I found.
Yeah, there it is. That's it, just there. Pause it just there. So if you remember, after 50 minutes, only 2 ships had changed hands. And now, at the end of the battle, you're looking at the attackers are only going to sail away with 6 ships.
Yeah, I consider that they got saved on the last minute because 2 ships were sinking, were no armor at the end.
Yeah. So it
1 minute more, it was even another 2 kill, so it could be completely devastating. But yeah, but the final result is 18 kills for 5 losses.
5 losses, and poor old Augustus lost his prize ships. There you go. That's disappointing, Augustus.
Yeah, the list is cut, but Augustus at certain point have bought 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, so that's nice work there, sir. And I think we were chatting about this off the screenshot in the forums. A particularly good sign is if you look at the number of assists and the number of players who've got more than 6 or 7 assists. That is a lot of players bringing their cannons to bear, yeah?
Yeah, that means they really focus at the targets. They don't went into individual fights. There's a lot of focusing involved because having an average of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 assists means that the people really shared their kills.
Yeah, which is good. So in summary there, what we saw was the Brits used their... Now, we've picked a battle where it worked for us, right? Otherwise, it's like an anti-tactics video, but we picked...
in our defense, we did, 12 castles, we won 11, so...
Yeah, so but this one, I think, was the bloodiest defeat, I think, for the opponents as well. But I think here what we showed off in this particular video was the nimbleness of a victory fleet. The fact that at the 20-minute mark we were at one end of the circle and we literally managed to crescent moon around both sides of them and get to the other side of the circle. And then the other tactic, which I know your kind of is maybe not your trademark, but it's close to your trademark, is allowing the enemy, the tip of the enemy vanguard, into the jaws of your main fleet, yeah?
Yeah, and personally, when I lead the fleet, I never try to rush the enemy in. If I need to start shooting and engaging, I go parallel with them. Because by going in, if the other commander just let you in and then close the formation, slow down also the formation. Is a thing I noticed that nobody use. Slow down your people. Because if you slow down, they can stay on the target much more. The people tend to overshoot, like I like to call it, in the sense that you go full speed, 10 knots, 9 knots, you shoot one volley, and then you move so fast that your next reload, your target is not anymore in
or is
sight
at some horrible angle. Now, this is obviously a tactic that's particularly good for defending, because the attacker has to make the move, and what you've done is, I did a lot of judo as a youngster, you've kind of used their force against them. So I think what we maybe do for another one in the future, just a bit of a challenge for it, is to find a video. It doesn't have to be one that you led, but find a video. There's plenty between the Americans and the Spanish in Islamadora. Which shows, because I think you need a different mindset, don't you, for attacking?
Yeah, in my opinion, we attacked Santo Domingo yesterday, we tried, we failed, but it was a very good try in terms of tactical maneuvering, etc.
Oh, well, maybe maybe we'll have a look
at
that.
Sooner or later we will go to that.
Yeah,
alrighty. But my point is that go all in with one full formation. If you get 1 or 2 losses when you start the brawl, it's already game over, because you commit everything into that. The best way for winning a port battle in attack now, unless you have a clearly superior skill at the fleet, is to split and force the enemy to do the same. So they need to send half fleet on B, half fleet on C,
and win the circles.
Yeah, and that's become harder, especially for the the Russians, you could see in Santo Domingo, they want to stay together at all costs.
So actually, I noticed that the Spanish fourth-rate fleet is actually very good at that. If you watch a couple of their videos where the Spanish guys are running mostly against the Americans in their sort of field of combat at the moment, there's 2 or 3 times when they've taken Islamadora. They've probably lost either the same or, in some occasions, even 1 or 2 more ships. But what they've done is they've won the wind and they've won the circles.
Yeah, my point is why I say splitting the fleets. Because let's say I send 10 guys on one side
Yeah.
and 14 on the other. What the enemy is going to do? If he's going to send 15 against my 14, okay, he spend 1 guy more, I know that my 10 guy are going to fight 9 guy.
Yeah.
So you can get a local superiority, like I call it, based on how much enemy send enemy towards you. For example, when we tried Castris the last time, not Castris, sorry, Les Calles.
Yeah.
I bet before the battle, I not was leading, I was just suggesting Augustus to send 4 or 5 guys to one circle, and I was going to bet whatever he wanted that they going to send at least double that numbers, and they exactly did that. We sent 4 people, they sent 8.
Yeah.
That allowed him with the main fleet to go engage the center circle, having an advantage of 4 ships.
And then your smaller complement, their job really is not to fight. Their job is just to have.
No, just to kite them as much as they can, avoid the fight, keep chaining, because when they realize the mistakes and they send the people back, you just follow them and keep chaining and chaining and chaining. Your role is to slow them down so they can't go help the main fight.
Yeah.
And this is a common judgment mistake that many commanders do, because they see 4 people, they want to send an easy victory, sending 6 or 7, so that he's sure that they're going to win. The problem is that he's just going to waste 7 people, try to kill 4 that don't want to engage you.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna probably call it that. That was interesting. It was sort of good to hear the approach from a port battle commander. I think there's probably only 8 or 9 people on the server who, at the moment, are sort of good leaders of their nation. I think it's an incredibly hard job. I know you crack the shits every now and again, but there's very few of us who can do it. I've tried it, and I get lost in my own fights too much. I know watching. I think it might have been one of the Swedish commanders. I actually saw one of the Swedish commanders get capped by surprise because he was watching his map so much. So it really is difficult to maintain the integrity of your own performance, and at the same time lead.
Yeah, because it's about micromanage the people, but at the end they have the control of their ships.
Yeah.
So you can win a battle for 90% of the time, and then 2 guys get emboldened. And even if you are the commander, you still have no control over that,
No, absolutely,
so
that's right.
It's very hard. But remember, more a commander need to talk, less the fleet is good, because he need to think even for the single players.
So I would like to open an invite up if any of the other captains. I know I've got a lot of time for a couple of the Dutch guys who lead and a couple of the Americans, and they have very different styles. Reddy, if you're out there, you've led 1,000,000 battles. I'd love to get your insights into any. We just need to get permission off the video maker to use their video. I'd probably struggle to get a Danish commander. My Russian's a bit weak. Maybe I can get Shrupel. I can get Shrupel in to interpret for me. So yeah, put in comments what you think about this format. Stay away from the whether or not you love Lord Vicious. A, he doesn't care, and B, it's not really the purpose of this series.
If you look at the stats.
And yeah, this is what I'm saying. I might ban you from responding with your record. But you're on here because you have been a successful commander, and it is interesting to get your insights. And I happen to know, although as a commander looking over a battle, it's always easy to hindsight stuff, I do happen to know, because I've been in battles with you, that the plan here was the one that got executed. The plan was very... In fact, there was another one I was going to use where it was an even more obvious jaws that you were setting to let the enemy fleet sail into. But I liked
the
this...
one you started pretty much talking, about this video, so that it was a setup, in that sense.
Yeah. But the other thing I liked about this video was I thought Augustus did a fantastic job of showing you how you should use the map.
That is an example of how a player not leading a fleet should play all the time.
And I think that was good. And the other thing, if you take the time to watch the video, he's actually very good at making good decisions over which ammo to have loaded when. So that's another bit of a tip: is if you know you're going to be coming in on an oblique angle, you're not going to be hull to hull. It's a good time perhaps for your charge shot. If you know you've got time and an enemy's going to be passing within a kick and a spit, you know it's time for double and you're going to wreck him. The other thing is to learn that it's always best to load double on top of ball if you decide to change your mind, because it's half the time to load it. Whereas
and also use double damage when an enemy is already at less than 50%, because you have much less penetration.
And
start with charger and then go with double. That's why in my fleet usually I call for double damage when the engage is already
been going for a little while. And the other thing is, a captain who's got half his hull left, and you saw Augustus doing this, can be quite brave. A captain who's down to 1 and 1.5 planks, he plays a different game, and you can dictate where he sails by basically threatening his weak side.
Beside the fact that you should not be in that situation, in the sense, as a commander, I always tell to the people, I don't care if you don't shoot for 10 minutes.
Don't sink.
I prefer you don't shoot for 10 minutes than lose an entire side and have another full. Sooner or later the battle, so it's circling around, you will have your chance to return and use your good side, and when you're even in damage you can repair. Because remember, having captains that have a good administration of their health pool is the best way for winning these fights.
And I think
many times I see people sinking with only one side gone.
Yeah, captains should also not be scared of... Quite often you'll do the right thing, you'll stay in the position you're told to stay in, and you just won't get many options to engage because there is 50 ships sailing around. But it's actually a real strength. If you have 3 or 4 ships towards the end of the battle that are very healthy, then the commander can send those guys into harm's way while looking after some of his ships that are a little bit more beaten up.
It's what we were talking before. You change ship damage captains for full health point. You send the one with damage to go take circles, away, and you exchange with new meat in that sense.
All right, Mr. Vicious, thank you very much for your TikTok. I actually thought that worked quite well as walking through with this little video tool you sent me, so that was all right. And let's see if folks like this. So thanks for your time, and I'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to sail with you again, sir.
It was a pleasure.
All right, cheers. So that's it from me with my naval action. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and I'll see you on the ocean, and I'll catch you.